Hi there, how's it going? Good evening. So, I am in a city that I have been to once before, but didn't really film here. And so I am back to hopefully do a better job of capturing a bit of this city. However, I am not going to say where it is quite yet. I will tell you where I am in the course of this video. However, first hint is I am not in the United States of America. Last night I took an overnight flight. I will get to that in a minute. I just want to catch people up with where I've been since my last video posted 2 weeks ago. I was planning to go that way and then saw this very colorful mural, and also wanted to show this nice park here. So this is not going to be a proper tour of the city. I will plan to make another video that will be more of a tour, more informative, going to the main sites to see, etc. Another hint, cannabis is legal in this country. I can smell it at the moment. So I'm just going to show this whatever it is, mural. Not sure if it's supposed to be an ad. I guess not, since it doesn't say anything. But it is definitely quite unique. So we're at Jarvis Street and Carlton Street. So I will be pointing out various clues. And once it gets obvious enough, I guess, I will reveal where I am. Okay, what is the deal with this? Very bizarre. Let's wait for this car to pass, get a little better shot of it, and then get out of the street and continue back this way, because I saw a sign that said Old Town this way. So let's see if we can get down there in the course of this video. I didn't have a particular destination in mind. The idea is just to show some of the streets of the city and then talk about a few different things, including my previous experience in this country. And so I'll have to tell you where I am before I get to that point. But first, so my last video was with my friend Yeshua. Hey guys, so I am here in Mendocino County with a very good friend of mine, Yeshua. Yeshua and I have known each other since we were about, I was probably 5, you were 6, something like that. Mm-hmm. In Ukiah, California. Yeshua, an old childhood friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a few years, who had gone to the rainbow gathering that I went to very briefly for just one night, and then he arrived later and stayed there for a few days. And so I made a video talking about the rainbow gathering with him back in Northern California, the area where my family lives and where I'm from. So that was 2 weeks ago, and so I did various things. I had these dental appointments, as I mentioned. I drove back to Reno, Nevada, and visited my brother and his wife and their son, and saw my dad again in the care home. Okay, we got a walk signal. Let's go for it. I had a couple more dental appointments, finally got that all done. I am completely caught up with all that annoying. I had a crown that I had the first appointment, and then had the temporary crown, and then second appointment, and got that installed, and had a deep cleaning, which took 2 appointments. Anyways, that's done. And so I finally packed up my car a few days ago and drove north up to Oregon, where I stayed at my friend Eric's house for 2 nights, hung out with him and his wife, Lori. Look at all this crazy machinery. Here with my friend Eric. What's this called again?
The Oregon Steam Up.
Oregon Steam Up.
Yeah.
All right. Classic summertime experience. State of Oregon. And then drove up to Portland and visited my friend Sterling and her boyfriend again. And then yesterday, we went to the Willamette River that flows through Portland, myself and Sterling and her boyfriend Scott, and hung out on the river and swam and soaked up the sun and stuff like that. And then I had my flight yesterday evening. It was actually at 11:40 p.m., so almost midnight there. And so,
No pictures, please.
no worries.
Joking.
Right on.
Thanks.
All right, have a good one. No pictures, just joking. And so I had this flight at 11:40 p.m. last night to here. I parked my car once again with Norm, one of my viewers. Good spot for a nap there. Parked my car with Norm, who generously offered to park my car while I'm gone. That is what I did on my last trip to Europe. Then he gave me a ride to the Portland airport and caught my flight. 4 hours direct flight from Portland to here. $255 US, including luggage and seat selection. So one of the reasons why I ended up here is because of that good flight. It gets me in the direction of where I'm going next from here, my real destination, because I'm just here for, well, technically I have my place there that I showed at the beginning. Great deal on a simple room. I have it for 5 nights. However, that included last night because I had this overnight flight, landed at 7 in the morning, and they don't allow check-in until 4 p.m. And I didn't want to be stuck with my backpack all exhausted and everything all day until 4 o'clock. And so I booked the room for last night so that I could just get there this morning and check in, get some sleep. And then I have 4 more nights. But my last night, I have another overnight flight at, I think, like 10 p.m. or something. And so then I will be leaving that evening and not staying the night. But luckily, it's a good deal on that room because there was nothing else anywhere vaguely in that price range. Okay, so here is your first really, really big hint about the country where I am. Tim Hortons. We have TD Bank, and I actually have a TD Bank account here on Jarvis Street and Dundas Street. All right, I might as well tell you where I am, because next topic of conversation will be my experience over my life of coming to this country. But let's get somewhere more interesting before I get further into that. So I think I will take out my phone and figure out how far it is to this Old Town, Banksy. All right, that is this city, I'm sure. But let's find a nicer part of it to continue this video. Cannabis, cannabis everywhere. So I'm not quite to the old town, but it is very close. But wanted to show this kind of interesting, sort of seedy neighborhood with some pretty interesting art. Another cannabis shop. All right, here we go. The ultimate hint. Petro, Canada. I'm back in Canada for the first time since 2020. I was here at the beginning of the pandemic, although not here in this city. This is the largest city in Canada, Toronto. So direct flight, Portland to Toronto. Your future is loading. Okay, so just a few blocks to the old town. No idea what is going to be there. So, my history with Canada begins at the very, very beginning. This is the very first country that I visited, and I mean literally the first country because I was born here in Vancouver way back in 1972. And Vancouver is where I was last during the pandemic. In March 2020, I was in Mexico. World best apple cake. Must be legal eating age for a slice. Does that mean it's a magic cannabis cake or something? And so in March of 2020, I was in Zacatecas, Mexico. Just arrived there and was planning to stay for a while. And then the pandemic was, spiraling out of control. And then just, all the crap hit the fan quite suddenly on March 9th, to the best of my recollection. Okay, Adelaide Street, and I think that this is St. James Park, I saw on the map. I wonder if that's an ode to Australia, Adelaide. And then the old town is like just a half a block over here. So, I don't know, maybe there just isn't really all that much of the old town. I guess we will find out. But getting a better experience of the nice summer, warm sunshine now that we're in the sun and not being shaded by the buildings, because it is about 6 p.m. in the evening. So getting a little late here, but still nice and warm. So March 2020, things start getting crazy. I decided that I didn't want to be in Mexico for whatever was going to happen next, and so I decided to go to Canada instead of going back home to the US just for something different, and because I figured Canada would be a good, safe place to be through this. And then I spent 6 weeks in Vancouver and Victoria, the city on Vancouver Island, going through the beginning stages of the pandemic. Okay, so Canada, 50 cents. They use the Canadian dollar, and it is part of the Commonwealth of Britain. The Queen, so obviously Queen Elizabeth II, who has now been succeeded by her son, King Charles. Okay, so according to the map, this is basically it. This is the old town, and it is not very interesting. And so I think that I won't continue in that direction. Maybe that's some sort of historical older building. Not that old, but we have an old church. Let's zoom over there. Oh, it says Old Town right here. Maybe I'm missing something that way, but anyways, let's continue back this way. St. Lawrence Hall, St. Lawrence Market. So that must be referring to the St. Lawrence River. And then St. James Cathedral. As I said, I thought that this was St. James Park, so that must be the case. We'll check out the cathedral. Historic Queen East. Toronto's first post office. George Brown College and financial district this way. So I guess that must be part of the Old Town, is the first post office. And then here a very nice park. Some pretty cool kids play contraptions. And there the St. James Cathedral. Toronto definitely has some nice parks. So this is my second time to Toronto. The last time was in the fall of 2013. I stopped here at the beginning of another big trip. That one, after Toronto, started in Bali. My first time to Bali and to Indonesia. And then, let's see, I guess we have a black squirrel here. And then to Thailand. Try not to step in an unexpected pile of dog stuff. Yeah, so St. James Cathedral. So that trip in 2013 and going into 2014 took me to Indonesia, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, Nepal, India. I think that was it for like 8 months. St. James Cathedral, York's first church. Oh, York's first church. So does York mean this neighborhood? Was built here in 1803 to 1807 with the aid of public subscriptions and a government grant. That frame building was enlarged in 1818 to 19 and replaced by a larger one in 1831. The first incumbent was the Reverend George Oakle Stewart, who served from 1800 to 1812. The second church was burnt in 1839. Toronto's first cathedral was then erected on the site, but was destroyed in the Great Fire of 1849. So a little local history. The present cathedral was begun in 1850, opened for divine service in 1853, and completed in 1874. Same information there. But looking very, very closed. All right, so now I have no idea where I'm going other than a little bit of a sense, oh, Church Street, a sense of where I walked coming from Union Station, because I arrived at the airport at 7 this morning, got through customs quickly, and then caught a train. It was really cheap, like I think she said $9 Canadian, which is like $6 or so US. That got me to Union Station, and then it was a 30-minute walk from there to my hotel, and I decided to just walk it. And I remember Church Street along the way. English, French, of course. Quebec province being majority French speaking, there's a whole lot of history around that. The European, whatever you want to call it, invasion, relocation, immigration to North America. And the French came here, and the English came here, and of course lots of other people came here, but Quebec became a majority French-speaking area, and all the rest of Canada is majority English-speaking and English origins. All right, so getting back to my history with Canada. Born here in 1972 to American parents, my dad Jim and mother Vicky from Los Angeles, Southern California, who moved up here in the early 70s for various reasons. I was born here, they only lived here for 2 years. We moved back to California when I was a year old. And so that was it for my Canadian experience for the rest of my childhood. We never came back here as a family. So I believe that the next time that I was back in Canada was in, and this goes into a whole story.
How much more?
So, May of 1992, I had just turned 20. Hey, I was 20 years old. I had moved to Alaska in 1990 to go to university at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, 1990 to 1991. Worked in Denali National Park, Alaska, in the summer of 1991, and then transferred to Juneau. That was with my friend Eric. Eric is my friend who lives in Salem, Oregon, where I used to park my car, and then that changed because he's in the process of moving, and that's why I had to park the car at Norm's place in Washington State. But so Eric and I transferred from Fairbanks to the university in Juneau, and I spent the year 1991 to 1992 there. And then that spring I finished up classes, and I had another summer of working in Denali National Park setup. And so I decided to hitchhike there. I left Juneau. I caught a ferry from Juneau on the panhandle of Alaska to Haines on the mainland, but still separated from the rest of Alaska, and the only way to get there by road is to go through Canada. And so I hitchhiked north and entered Canada, I think a little sliver of British Columbia, and then the Yukon. I remember spending a night quite cold in my sleeping bag. I didn't have a tent, but I had a sleeping bag. So laying out somewhere, and being early May, it was still quite cold. So So I slept out somewhere and then continued back into Alaska, and this was a week after Chris McCandless had hitchhiked part of the same highway on his way to where he ultimately, hiked out into the wilderness just north of Denali National Park. And so I don't want to get lost on that whole story, but I worked there in Denali while Chris McCandless, subject of the book and movie Into the Wild, while he was going through his crazy experience and ultimately died out there in the wilderness. And then I heard about that while I was working there at the end of that summer. All right, so you're getting a taste of another side of Toronto here, the financial district, Toronto Dominion Centre, designed by modernist architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. So that must be a Dutch guy, Van. So my friend Eric is Dutch. His last name starts with Van as well. 1967, 68, 69. So then, my next experience returning to Canada, there's another dramatic story with this one, which is that I was living in Eugene, Oregon in 1993, I think summer of 1993, and my mom and stepdad and brother and I all went on a road trip up to Vancouver to revisit the house where my parents lived when I was born. It was outside of Vancouver, kind of a sort of a, not exactly a cabin, but like a pretty simple house, kind of out in the countryside outside of Vancouver. And so we drove up to Vancouver in maybe multiple, it must have been multiple vehicles. I drove my own vehicle, and then on the way back we stopped to visit my aunt in Portland and stayed there for the night. And in the morning I come into the living room, and my Aunt Jeannie says, "Where's your car?" I was like, "What?" Like thinking maybe she didn't realize where I parked it. Looked out there, the car had been stolen in the night. And I had very, very little money at the time, so this really messed me up. I got another vehicle. Oh man, and then I'm just realizing what might be the next time I went to Canada was almost a repeat. I don't think that I would have gone to Canada any time between then. 1993, oh no, I did, okay. Then this is a whole other interesting story, which is that I was working in Denali National Park again in 1995, summer of 1995. I was in my homeless vagabond phase that went from fall of 1994 to fall of 2000, when I was mostly homeless during that 6-year period. So I went up to Denali again, summer of 95, worked there, and my roommate was a really cool guy from Kansas, but he was half Chinese, and he had driven his Jeep all the way up from Kansas, and then he was driving it back. So at the end of the summer, then we first drove up to Prudhoe Bay, the topmost part of Alaska that you can actually drive to, where the Alaska pipeline begins. And then from there we continued south, and we drove, I think, to Haines. So from Alaska into Canada, and then back into Alaska, and then at Haines caught the ferry. and eventually ended up, oh, that's right, back in Canada. Man, now it's all a little fuzzy. Yeah, because we got off at Prince Rupert. We took the ferry to Prince Rupert, I think it is, in British Columbia, and then continued driving from there all the way back down to, I think they dropped me off in Seattle, to the best of my recollection. So that was 1995. And then I don't think that I went back to Canada again until 2004, when I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I had a girlfriend, and we decided to go on a road trip up to Canada for some reason. Just, you know, a 4 or 5 day road trip. We drove up to Vancouver, and I forget exactly where we went. Maybe we went camping somewhere around there. And then on the way back, we stopped in Seattle, Washington, parked in a parking garage, and went to visit the Space Needle, the iconic structure of Seattle. We drove in her car. We visit the Space Needle, come back to the parking garage, and cannot find her vehicle. Once again, stolen. And so I had left, you know, all my stuff in the car except my wallet, luckily. But, you know, my backpack, all my camping gear, lost a lot of stuff in that one. So here again it says York Street South, Front Street eastbound. So I'm not quite sure what York is, but York Street, I'm guessing that's this neighborhood. Definitely getting quite busy here. Okay, Union Station. So I'm back where I got off the train. Discovery District, Entertainment District, Harborfront. Maybe that's Union Station right there. Oh, railway offices. Okay. Oh, I guess, yeah, that looks like a central train station. And then I believe that the next time I went to Canada would have been in 2008. So having been born in Vancouver, then you get automatic Canadian citizenship. And so I just kind of got the idea in my head that I wanted to come back here and sort of make use of that citizenship, and also just experience Canada more. And so I was thinking about coming up here and working. And so in 2007, then I traveled to Asia for another big trip that took me to, well, first Hawaii, Thailand, India, Nepal, back to Thailand, back to Hawaii. All of that was another 8 months. And then I met somebody, I think a couple, to the best of my recollection. Maybe they were Canadian, I forget, but for some random reason, they recommended to me Jasper National Park in Canada. I knew about Banff. I hadn't known about Jasper National Park at that time, but them recommending it put it on my radar. And so after that trip to Asia in 2008, I'd been living in Portland, didn't want to go back to Portland yet, and so decided to go on a road trip up to Canada and see if I could find work up in Jasper National Park. And that worked. That's a whole story how I got the job, but ended up getting a job as a gardener for several hotels. All right, we got some live music and a little street fair, something like that. And so that was in, like, oh, I went to the Rainbow Gathering, that's right, in either Wyoming or Montana in 2008, and then drove from there into Canada, and long story short, got up to Jasper, found a job there, worked there for a few months through the end of the summer and into the fall. So I mentioned at the beginning that I have a TD bank account. Here's TD Bank, TD Stage. So I have that bank account because of working in Jasper National Park, Canada. TD Union Summer. You're watching Summer Works Performance Series featuring Telehorn, artist Telehorn. Okay, that's the band. Telehorn. Kind of jazzy rock. All right, so a food court, Gus Tacos.
So if anyone has any spare air miles that could get me to Europe, just talk to me after the show. Would appreciate it.
So speaking of getting to Europe, that's my next destination, flying to Dublin on Saturday. Another overnight flight. But Ireland is not my destination. That is just because I found a cheap flight from here, and then I guess I'll talk about that later, where I'm going from there. But wrapping up my Canada experience then, I worked in Jasper 2008, then various long stories very short. I went back in 2010, worked there for longer that time, like 7 or 8 months. Went back to Jasper in, let's see, 2011 again. And this basically goes into my YouTube channel, the beginnings of my YouTube channel, because I was working in Jasper, saving money, traveling, spending all my money, and then going back to Jasper and working and saving up again. And so I went back in 2011, 2013, 2014. So 5 times working in Jasper, and then YouTube took off from there. Okay. And on that note, I have to mention such a tragedy. Jasper National Park destroyed by fire. Recent fire just a week or 2 ago. Swept through the park and unfortunately got to the town. And majorly destroyed the town, like a third or half of the structure, something like that, burned down in Jasper. So that is just so sad. I hope they can actually rebuild, but man, that is going to be a big project there. So that gets me to the present, basically, because I mentioned after 2014, actually I was in Canada the next time in 2019. Spring of 2019, I went to Montreal and Ottawa, the capital of Canada. Toronto here is the largest city in Canada and the capital of the province of Ontario. They don't have states here, they have provinces. And so I was in the Caribbean in the spring of 2019, and for some reason probably because I found a cheap flight, decided to just do kind of a quick stop and just went to Montreal, Ottawa, and then 2020, as I mentioned, Vancouver, and the next time was right now, 2024. All right, so that was a pretty interesting tour. Got a good cross-section of different neighborhoods of Toronto there. But I have like 2.5 more days in the city. Oh, I should have ran for it. And so I will make more videos here, make a proper tour showing more of the real sights to see. I think that is CN Tower, which, speaking of the Space Needle, it looks very similar to the Space Needle. Okay, I wanted to check out that Meridian Hall. So we'll go the long way to get there. So, point being, I have more time in the coming days to show a bit more of this very nice city with a lot of quite interesting neighborhoods. Get loud, Toronto. All right, let's finish this video up with a view of that strange looking mural there, and this will then have to require an illegal jaywalking incident. So Meridian Hall, whatever this is, I guess a concert hall. What's that band? Arash and Sassy. They look like Middle Eastern rappers or something. I mean, maybe they're Canadians, very likely. But those names, Arash and Sassy. And then here, Toronto Operetta Theater. Another little park there. Lots of cool eateries around here. All right, this is some really unique art here. Wow. So, a nature scene. You have a moose, a bear, a turtle, it looks like, the shell of a turtle, a fish, likely a salmon, bear eating the salmon, and then that looks like likely a native Canadian First Peoples scene, a woman sitting doing something and then somebody dancing. Butterfly, not sure what those black things on the top are, but trees. Here we go. Oh, okay, great. In honor of all the missing and murdered Indigenous people of Turtle Island. So Turtle Island refers to North America. Artist statement. Okay, this mural is meant to be a visual healing experience. The 7 rings around Grandfather Sun represent the 7 grandfather teachings of the Anishinaabe people: wisdom, love, humility, respect, honesty, courage, and truth. There are many layers of sacred geometry patterns on the mural. The skyline includes the medicine wheel teachings, Grandmother Moon, and the 13 grandmother clan systems. The turtle shell represents North America's creation story, the 13 full moons per year, and the 7 grandfather teachings. The entire mural also represents the original peace treaty of the 6 nations on Turtle Island, North America. The story of the Six Nations Treaty starts with the original 5 nations of Turtle Island: the Plant Nation, the Insect Nation, the Bird Nation, the Fish Nation, and the Animal Nation. All 5 nations had to agree to let the human nation live here on Mother Earth. All 5 nations agreed to be humanity's teachers, and the human nation was invited to share the land. The human nation was given instructions of how to live on Mother Earth: walk gentle, learn one new thing every day. These are some of the original instructions given to the Anishinaabe people. The bear represents a medicine clan. The bottom panel represents my story from the past, present, and future. So he means this. It mentions a microphone. There's the microphone. Very interesting. Okay. Quentin K-Rock Comanda. All right, that is going to do it. Time to search around for a little something to eat. Maybe I'll find a good pub or something like that. Anyway, more coming from Toronto. See ya.